Back, I'm jumping into the F18. I'm in 019 now, which is a lot like 018. People have asked me why I use 018, and largely it's the some of the comments that I've received, particularly in email form, are people who have to use 018 for one reason or another, so I've stayed relevant for them, because 019 is going to be a bit more backwards compatible than 018 is if I use something fancy that some of the viewers that have contacted me wouldn't be able to follow. So let's jump in here. Let's go with the engines this time. I think that's the next logical thing to do. So let's go to the right view, and I'm going to just show my datum planes with the space bar, of course. And if you need to know any of the hotkeys that I use, I'll make sure that my keyboard monitor is displayed here. And I don't really have a plane that shows where the engine starts, so I think that's a good excuse to add another datum plane if we don't have enough already. With this highlighted, I'll jump to the part design workbench and click the datum plane. And I'll flip sides for the Z direction. Alright, so about right there is where our engine inlet starts. Let's say 95.25. That extra quarter, I don't know why it makes a difference, but it does. Alright, now I can go ahead and show my additive loft and mirrored features and canopy and everything again. And let's begin a sketch on this datum plane, and I'll immediately hide it as before. So now I want to make sure that I create a good profile that encompasses my engine. Or in this case, you could say that this is just the inlet ductwork that I'm working on, and you'd be right too. I'm going to start with a spline. And actually, you know, I bet a center point arc through some of this could work. Of course. Let's map reverse. All right, now we'll reset our view here. So now I can see that this is, pretty good little constant radius here. So I moved my arc to hopefully match right about where that constant radius is. And I'm going to lock down my arc center point. And I guess my end point too, because that's a good fit. I'm going to hide my additive loft temporarily. It looks like this, I could probably, if this is going into the body of the plane, I'll just make this tangent to vertical, and that should make for kind of a convenient profile when I go to loft it, right? So we're going to make that horizontal. I bet I could also satisfy this with another 3-point arc, and that gives me the luxury of doing a tangent relation still, right, with the T key. Because tangency to splines is, I think, still being developed in FreeCAD. So I don't know if I could go with complete horizontal here. Let's see what happens if I make a vertical. Yeah, it's a bit tall. So I'm going to get rid of that vertical relation, and I'll just have maybe a somewhat awkward, vertical dimension. Let's take that down to maybe 5, maybe 4. 4 is okay. All right, so we have 1, 2, and 3 elements to our lofting profile that we're starting off with the engine. I'll show my body once again. And of course, I need to offset that engine as well, which I almost forgot to do. So we'll let's see here. I'll go with the center point arcs. And then that should be my next arc. This time I'll just take this down to a nice wireframe view. Alright, just a few more dimensions and we should be well on our way. Make sure that we are tangent here. And I think just one dimension, probably a horizontal dimension here would be the easiest. Let's have a thickness of, how about 0.35 millimeters. Close that. Next, how do we want our engine to go into the main body? I'm going to show my datum planes once again just to see if there's anything I can use. We'll go to the top view. That's probably a nice piece of the profile right there. So let's start a sketch on this. Right off the bat, I'm not going to forget to map reverse this time. And there we go to the right side. Now let's hide all the datum planes, including the one that we're sketching on. All right, let's work on this next profile. So from the front view, I want this to kind of come straight down the center. And I'm not going to worry about this being tangent as it is here. I just care about having the same number of sketch elements. And I think that that's going to be a pretty good representation of our body at that point. Let's go to the top here. And we're about as wide as what we should be there, at least from the top. Now I'm going to go a hair wider. So from the top view, that looks about right. Let's go to the front view. I will lock this point down. I'm going to move this up just so that that looks pretty good. We're going to make that have a vertical dimension, and I'll highlight, from here to here, vertical. I think we should only have 1 degree of freedom now, and that's right. You don't have to fully constrain these sketches, but since I'm using arcs and not splines, it seems to make good sense. So obviously that doesn't make sense. We're going to bring this down. Well, I'm going to make a spline here. On the spline, I think I'll make a construction line that goes from point to point. We're going to make this line tangent to here, and that ensures a smoother transition, right? So maybe that's what we want our engines to be doing. And if I add a horizontal relation here, how does that look from the top? That looks pretty good. From the side, not bad. So let's try offsetting that. Now to offset a spline is a bit more challenging, but I think we can do it. I'll grab a sort of a dimension there. Let's take that to 3.6. Seems about right. Let's add in a horizontal dimension from here to here at 1.75, and we're fully defined. So from here to this point, we'll add a horizontal 0.35, consistent to the dimension that we've done before. And I actually want a center point arc. Since they're concentric, it makes life a little bit more easy. Now, just to make sure that we have the right endpoint to accommodate trying to offset a spline correctly, I'm going to make sure that this line and this endpoint are coincident. And we only have 1 degree of freedom, the height of this line, which is perfectly good. We'll add in now a spline, same number of points, and down to here. In similar fashion, I want to constrain the spline the same way with the tangent relation to the arc and with an equal here. And then I want to grab this point here and we'll make sure that we have a horizontal relation. So you'll notice what we're doing is not a perfect offset, but it's close. 0.35. So we get a little bit of a thin section here, but I think we'll be all right. If we want to fine-tune stuff, we certainly can. You know, I can grab this, and I can even say, well, maybe what if I did minus 0.35, right? And that looks pretty good. So we can have our dimensions minus 0.35, and that looks pretty darn close. We'll close that. That's looking pretty good. I think we just need one more now. So, add another datum plane from this plane here. Flip sides. Go to the top view now. Right about there. Let's create a sketch. As always, I'll map reverse this sketch. I want to hide my datum plane. And let's do the same thing. First, create a vertical line. And I want to set this with the right view, right? I want to make sure that my vertical line is just below and above the highest and lowest points respectively. Alright, so I'm just below this line and just above this line. Let's make it happen. I will come here, Shift V. This is just to lock this down so this point doesn't get messed with in the future, right? So we've got that. Next, and I'm going to add some arcs. Now I am looking at the possibility of adding one more sketch element. I think with this vertical line, everything will line up properly, right? FreeCAD is forgiving. But if in a serious project, you'll want to adjust the number of sketch elements to meet your needs. I'm going to say tangent. Tangent. We'll make this vertical. And how about the top view? We're going wider than our engine is in the image, so we'll cut that down. Top view again. A little more wide now. Yeah, that's nice. I like these points. I think if I check them from the side view, that also seems to look good. Front view, nice rear profile there. So I'm going to take this center point here and add a vertical relation, and of course that dramatically alters where we're at. So I'm going to lock down this center point and now make an adjustment, vertical, and that seems to get things to get along a little bit easier. Shift R for radius. Let's make that 35. So that'll be our rear profile there. And I want to offset this as well. Now since we're working with arcs, this should be easier than the last one with the spline. And you know, I really ought to do a center point arc. We'll do a center point arc from here. And then there's this point there. And we'll grab this relation to get those points together. Now, we have everything set to be concentric. So we'll give this and this a horizontal dimension of 0.35 as before. Probably even give that a vertical dimension of 0.35. And we want to be tangent. We have one more degree of freedom. It should be tangent. There we go. All right. Who wants to loft out the engine? We'll grab in part design the loft option. We're going to go from 11, and then we'll add a section to here and add another section to here. And if preview doesn't show up, then you of course want to make sure that you're looking at as is, and you get a much better preview. And that is about what I was seeing in my mind, so I'm not crazy. Let's give that a try. And changing this back to as is now. There we go. My view toggled a little bit, but that looks like a nice F18 engine. I'm going to now save my part. And let's do a mirror of this loft. We'll choose a mirror feature right there. We go with our last additive loft. Our mirror plane will be the YZ plane, of course. I like to specify the YZ even though the vertical sketch axis has worked. It looks a lot more F18-ish than my last model, so I'm a lot more pleased with the way that that turned out. Looks like I've been recording for quite a while now, so we'll call this a video. Thank you for watching. Let's do the wings in the next one, then we'll start getting something that really begins to look like a plane. Checking this from the top. Right, that looks just like that fits right in with the image. From the side, not bad. So I hope this video was helpful. If it was, please subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.